The Alabama win total is currently set at 9.5. And as we've been doing these win total videos and talking about how the quarterbacks can impact the win total, we always mention that it's still so far in the offseason that these win totals can change, right? But currently it's at 9.5. And I think Alabama is a team that's kind of easy to pick on right now, from Nick Saban retiring to the transfer portal and the coaches that were supposed to come that aren't coming. It's kind of an easy team to pick on right now for whatever reason. So it's almost like they're kind of being forgotten about, right? But I want to take a few minutes and talk about Jalen Milroe and how he can potentially impact this win total and for Alabama fans, hopefully lead them to the over, right? Again, 9.5, so you only have 2 games to lose or 2 games for error. A really tough schedule, a lot of change going on, but I think Milroe is the X factor. I think you got Jalen Milroe, and I think if he takes those next steps, you have a really good chance of hitting that over, right? But at the same time, more of the success of the team may have to do with how the rest of the team plays out, right? But for the sake of the video, let's talk about Jalen Milroe. So Milroe is still a guy who's getting a lot of criticism despite having a better season last year than anyone predicted, despite making a run towards the Heisman towards the end of the year and doing a lot of really, really good things. And so I think we put out some videos of Milroe and kind of his skill set compared with DeBoer's offense, and I think it pairs really well. Just to kind of recap it, the deep shots that Milroe does, making those tough throws, is something that fits DeBoer's offense extremely well. So now if DeBoer can get Milroe to take that next step where he's more consistent with the underneath type throws, getting the ball out quick, then why can't he be the best quarterback in the SEC, right? Like, he's only started 1 year We saw a lot of quarterbacks take the next steps last year, from Jackson Dart to Jaden Daniels. So why can't Milroe take that next step as a quarterback and be the best quarterback in the SEC? Remember, he's only started 1 year, so you have to give him room for development. Not saying he's going to take those big jumps, but there's absolutely opportunity and a potential for him too. So like we talked about, I still think the majority, or I still think he can take that next steps, and the rest of the team has to play up to the level for them to hit the win total. But I think it does come down to Milroe. Even if that team takes the next step, I think it comes down to Milroe. Milroe's going to have to put the team on the back, per se, for them to hit this win total, because the schedule is tough, right? So let's go through the schedule. We'll go game by game through the schedule and kind of break down the pathway for Bama to hit the win total. Again, we're kind of going into this with the assumption that Milroe is taking that next step. Okay. All right. So Western Kentucky home win, USF home win. Right. Of course, any game you could slip up against, but we're just kind of flying through right now. Then you go to Wisconsin. That's your first big test. It's not coin flippy. I think it's still Bama is the favorite. But Wisconsin's got a hell of a coach. They got a new transfer quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, and depending on your thoughts on him, he could take that next step and be really good as well. But still, Bama is the favorite here. And I think it's good to have that first test in week 3. It's away. It's against Wisconsin. It's not a power hitter by any means, but it's a good ball club, and you're playing at their place, right? And then you have your off week, which is good because you have Georgia coming home. That's going to be, I still think it's coin flippy. I really do, but leaning Georgia, right? And then you got at Vanderbilt. Then you got South Carolina at home. They're developing or having a new quarterback as well. Then you go to Tennessee. Again, Nico's a highly, highly talented quarterback and a lot of hype, and rightfully so. But he's still a new quarterback, and he's still going to be throwing against Bama type players, right? So that's at Tennessee. That's coin flippy for me. I think I may lean Bama in that game. Then you come back home to play Mizzou. Again, coin flippy, but I lean Bama here, but a really tough game. Then you go to LSU. And they have a new quarterback, right? Garrett Nussmeier, new quarterback, new OC. I think Nussmeier's a stud. I think he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, but he's still a new quarterback. But that time of the year, it's the 8th game, 9th game of the year, whatever it may be, he should have his feet wet. But still a new quarterback, and Milroe has the edge there. Then you have Mercer at home, and then you go to Oklahoma. Another tough game. You should be the favorite here. Oklahoma's got a tough schedule as well. A new quarterback being broken in, new OC. But again, kind of like with LSU, this is one of the last weeks of the season, so the rookiness, if you will, has almost worn off. You should almost be kind of transitioning to that next phase. Then, of course, you finish with Auburn. You get them at home. That's always coin flippy. I mean, I don't have to talk about the Auburn and Alabama rivalry, but that's always coin flippy no matter the schedule, right? So with that said, there are a lot of winnable games. Every game is winnable, but what are the main games? What are the pathways? Where does Milroe really have to play well in for Bama to hit this win total, hit the over? Well, obviously UGA, right? UGA at home. You get UGA at home, your toughest game. You get them at at home, and there's a real shot you can beat UGA. I mean, you beat them in the SEC championship. I know it's a different team, different coach, but that was Carson Beck's really only game that he didn't just like tear it up in his big games per se. He played really good in all the big games for Georgia last year, but then against Bama, everything was like just like a mediocre play for Georgia because Bama was so good, right? So yeah, you lean Georgia. Yeah, Georgia's probably the favorite. Georgia's probably going to win, but that's not a gimme by any means, right? But you got Georgia at home, and then your toughest schedule or your toughest opponents after that, for the most part, are away. With LSU's away, but new quarterback, right? New quarterback being broken in, but you still play LSU away. We all know that home field advantage there. Oklahoma, new quarterback, you play them away, though. Tennessee, new quarterback, you play them away. A lot of young, really good quarterbacks, but you play them away. But I think it kind of balances each other out, right? Because Milroe has that experience. Like, that experience doesn't just go away. I think Milroe's experience that he has could potentially will them to this over. Then Auburn's always a toss-up, like we talked about. And you have Mizzou at home, right? And again, we talked about Wisconsin's not a gimme by any means, but that you should be a decent size favorite there. You would like to see a blowout against Wisconsin, right? So week 3 rolls around. If you can blow out Wisconsin, that gives you some really good opportunistic type mindset and feeling heading into Georgia and your other opponents, right? So number one thing here, you can't have slip-ups to hit the win total, and you have to go 2-2 minimum against UGA, LSU, Oklahoma, and Tennessee is kind of how I view it. Or you can throw in Mizzou and Tennessee. Like you can't have any slip-ups at home. You have to beat Mizzou at home. I feel like that might be your like factor. You have to beat Mizzou at home, and then if you lose a UGA at home, you have one more potential loss on the road that you can lose and still hit that win total, whether it's LSU, Oklahoma, or Tennessee. So while the schedule is tough, admittedly, I think Milroe is being forgot about. I think Milroe and the Bama in general is like, dude, these are still some of the top players in the nation, right? And you have Milroe who's coming back his second year as a starting quarterback. You expect him to take that next step. You like the offense DeBoer has and that he did with Penix. Like, my trust is kind of in that. And so I think it is going to be challenging. I definitely think they could lose 3 games and go 9-12 and hit the under, and Milroe could still have a good year. But for Milroe or for Bama to hit that win total, Milroe is the X factor. And I think his experience against some of these other quarterbacks may separate Bama and may lead them to potentially hitting that win total, right? So, all right, Bama fans or just college football fans in general, what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this is your first time tuning into the channel, we're just a big quarterback hub. We talk all things quarterbacks. I know this was kind of like win totally, but we're trying to make it apply to the quarterback position. We also have a QB Spotlight podcast where we have current and former quarterbacks come on the show and talk about their experiences. So if you're interested in to like the quarterback niche type stuff, specifically the college quarterback position, it's real niche-y kind of content, please consider subscribing, right? But regardless, like, share, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below on Bama's win total. We'll see you next time. Peace.